MMA Pros Picks is sponsored by the Mad Lab, MMA.com. Full breakdowns, DFS, wagers, projections, podcasts, and live streams for every single card. Use the promo code MADLYNCH for 40% off your first month.
So I feel like what Ben's doing, I watched some of the sparring, and I feel like what he's doing is the right strategy. I feel like he's just going to close the distance. And I don't know if you remember when Mayweather changed his style in like the 6th round to begin to take McGregor on. He used a fake pressure style where he just invaded his space, but he didn't do much and nothing at all. I feel like Ben, that's the style that Ben needs to use to beat Jake Paul. He just needs to invade his space and stay there and just, mitigate damage while he's doing it. Ben needs to not have his chin so high in the air to get hit with that overhand right that Jake Paul's been throwing so hard. I don't look at Jake Paul like everyone else does. I feel like he's taking this serious and he's got a hard enough shot to put Ben away. It's just about Ben pressuring him and not taking the proper damage or the hard damage in the first 2 and 3 rounds. If he does that with that strategy where he's just pressuring and tying him up and hitting him with rabbit punches, then Jake will gas out. And Ben will be able to win the fight. But in them first 2 or 3 rounds, it's going to be interesting to see if Jake could land that big shot.
I originally said Jake Paul, but then after that man slap to the belly and then the push, I was like, I don't know. This might be closer than I think it's going to be. We all know Asker's not a boxer. Jake Paul is bigger than him, and he's actually been boxing. I know Askren has a bad hip, but, I think Askren's just tough. I feel bad going against Askren for a guy who does YouTube. I don't know how much I don't know how much Jake Paul actually trains. If he actually trains, I think Jake Paul can actually win because Askren's never been a stand-up guy. I don't think he's learning stand-up after his hip is being so bad for such a long time. But I don't know. I don't know. I don't even know. If I had to put money on it, maybe I put on the underdog.
Man, I hate that fight. Why? Why is Ben Askren gonna represent the striking of us MMA fighters? It feels so bad. It couldn't be worse. I love Ben. He's an awesome guy. I'm such a big fan of his. But his striking is not the best. He's not the best. I really hope that he can make it happen, but I can't help but think that it's gonna end bad. So
yeah, you're taking Jake Paul?
Jake Paul, yeah.
Man, I've been so back and forth on that one. It's tough. It's tough just because there's so many unknowns and many variables. Like Askren obviously is was an Olympic medalist. Like, he's competed his whole life. He's been in the big show. He's fought world champions at MMA. But his striking has always been pretty dookie. It hasn't been good. And then you get someone like Jake Paul, who's very unexperienced. He's only fought twice against very unexperienced people. But his striking doesn't look too bad, man. And it looks like he's taking this serious. I was sold on Askren until 2 days ago or 3 days ago. I saw a clip that my buddy showed me of Jake Paul sparring. And the dude's got good timing, man. Like, he's got good timing. And obviously it could be just like highlights. But he's cracking people, and it was at least 10 guys that in that clip that he was showing of him sparring, and he was cracking these guys. And his timing just looked on point, like someone that's been training for a couple of years. So Ben Askren's also coming off like a hip replacement. Like, those are no joke either, man. So a couple of days ago, I would have said Ben Askren, but if gun to my head, I'm going.
Honestly, I just don't know if I am familiar enough with Jake Paul's boxing. I'm not the most familiar. I mean, obviously I know Askren. I know he's a very good MMA fighter. As far as boxing, I mean he's never been known for his hands and stand up in MMA. It's always been his grappling and wrestling. So I think it's an interesting matchup. But like I said, I'm not the most familiar with Paul or whatever his name is, and so it's hard for me to decide. I'm gonna go with Askren just because I want to see him do well since he's coming over from the UFC and MMA fighter, and I like Askren. I've always been a fan of him, and so I'm going with Askren.
I'm rooting for Ben Askren.
That's Ben all day. That's Ben all day. Yeah, I'm so sick of this thing. It's gotten so much hype and so much momentum behind it for no real reason behind it, and it just like I can't wait to see Ben go out there and just put it on this.
Oh God, I think Ben Askren wins just because he's just more experienced in combat sports. I think it's going to be super ugly. I think he's just going to run at him and do this the whole time, but. Jake Paul didn't handle pressure that well, even from that basketball player. Whenever that guy ran at him, he was kind of like, So I think Askren beats him just with pressure.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. I think the fans like it. I think we have to have a little bit of entertainment in this business as well. So it's a welcome thing, and it brings money, it brings eyes, so it's nice. Jake Paul, he's had 2 fights, but against guys with no expression, guys who were amateurs. And Askren, he was a world champion. He knows how to compete. He knows how to win. He's a winner. But at the same time, he's not a good puncher. He was never known for his striking. So I'm actually curious. We see that Jake Paul has been taking his preparation seriously. He's surrounded by good boxing people. Askren seems to be taking the necessary steps as well. So I don't see a favorite in this fight because a punch is a punch. And anyone can go down and everything can happen in a fight. So I'm looking at it as in a bystander place. I'm just curious that's what you're going to see, but I think it's going to be good.
With that original flow, head kicks with the pros, picks of the fights or anything in the mix. Getting closer to the heart of the flame, bringing conversations with heavy hitting names. You feel the love of the game.